Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Common Fan podcast. Before we get to the cricket, let's talk about the exciting concert that happened on Saturday, the 14th of October, featuring many stalwarts of Indian music. I, as a musician, was so excited about the concert because it had Arijit Singh, it had Sukhwinder, it had Shankar Mahadevan, Sunidhi Chauhan. You name them, they were all there, the creme de la creme of the Indian music industry. The exciting thing, the best thing about that concert was that none of us sitting at home were able to attend it because, as usual, much like the BCCI has done with the tickets to the World Cup, they left the common fan out of it. Joining me today on the podcast to talk about this are Manan and Ritvik. Prasanna Kovalam, our in-house fake Australian, has decided to ditch the common fan and instead play a different game with a different stick. And it's not what you think it is. We're talking about Dandiya, friends. Prasanna Kovalam has never said no to a dance. And we have never said yes to watching Prasanna Kovalam dance. So let's leave it there. Over to Ritvik Shekhar now. Let's talk about the concert. The India-Pakistan game.
Well, couldn't have asked for a better game, my friend.
Yeah.
Pakistan had a terrific start. They were all set to cross 300, but that's when our man Siraj decided to break the partnership. And then it was Bumrah, Kuldeep, Jadeja, a performance as clinical as it could have been by the Indian bowlers. And batting, I think Rohit Sharma was almost like a bully in front of the Pakistan bowlers. And I don't know why he was so intimidating, but he completely demolished the Pakistani bowling attack.
Speaking of bullying, what is it about India-Pakistan encounters that gets everybody so charged up, including the fans? Manan?
Yeah, of course, there is a geopolitical tension that has been forever around, and then early 90s, late 80s, Pakistan were beating us in Sharjah in bilateral and tri-series, etc. So as common fans, we've borne the brunt of it. And now I think, of course, the rivalry has taken a different turn thanks to social media and whatever is happening. And I think that played out in the on the field as well, where Rizwan, for instance, was almost heckled. Again, Jai Shri Ram is not the problem, but again, you just targeting Jai Shri Ram as a word to make sure that the other person feels bad about it. So you kind of doing that, and then few other snippets also came out, which is not so much you would expect out of a good Indian crowd in one of the biggest stadiums in the world and whatnot. So that left a bad taste in the mouth. Of course, the game was great and we won. Couldn't have asked for a better, India-Pakistan encounter where we come out on top and kill them effectively. And but then, the fans, they could have done much, much better.
So
I agree.
Any thoughts on what Mickey Arthur said in the press conference?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Look, Mickey Arthur clearly wanted a concert request over there. He clearly didn't enjoy the Arijit concert, so he wanted Dil Dil Pakistan. I feel like him being like this typical average white guy, his perspective may be ignorant of the geopolitical tensions and history that exists between the countries. So I just feel like he was being a bit unfair in the kind of whining that he was doing. However, I do completely agree with what you said, Manan, about fans heckling the Pakistani players and shouting Jai Shri Ram when they were passing by, and that was just an extremely poor taste. I also feel like Ahmedabad as a venue still needs to rise through the ranks. You can't just build a massive stadium and suddenly it becomes the greatest stadium in the world. No, that's not going to happen. It's about the ethos of the people. It's about the fans. It's everything. It takes a village to make a venue a great venue. And just naming it after a person does not make the venue great, or just making it a huge ass venue doesn't make it great. So I'm sorry, but for me, Ahmedabad is not even up there, and I wouldn't even equate it with the Lucknow, to be honest. It needs to rise up the ranks. There is no way it's fit for a final, let alone these kind of important encounters. So yeah, it's not an Eden Gardens, it'll never be. It's not a Chepauk, it'll never be. It's not a Wankhede, it'll never be. That's my quick thoughts on that. Moving on, we did have two very, very interesting games this week. Some of you may call them upsets. I personally don't think Afghanistan beating England is an upset, or the Netherlands beating South Africa is. Ritvik, Shekhar, thoughts? We'll start with you.
Well, I was definitely cheering for the underdogs, Afghanistan and Netherlands. Afghanistan has always been a favorite because of the likes of Rashid Khan playing for them, and the state in which that country has been. It's always great to see a spirited performance from them. Yesterday was actually a bigger surprise. I did not expect that Netherlands would beat South Africa, and I understand that they did that 2 years back in the T20 World Cup. But I think it's really cool, and given that there was a South African born, an ex-South African player who was playing for Netherlands, I really enjoyed these two games.
I think there were quite a few, right? I mean, technically, Netherlands, I mean, South Africa was a Dutch colony. So, and the Afrikaans language is actually like almost like a dialect of the Dutch language. So, yeah, they could probably understand the sledges as well.
But yeah, upsets, to your point, Vijay, I think you said you don't call them upsets. They're still upsets, to be honest, because both Afghanistan and Netherlands are still minnows. Yes, England could have done better, and of course, you have one or two upsets every time in the tournament. But then I won't call them not upsets. And
Look, hear me out. Afghanistan have been around long enough in cricket to be able to comfortably beat the likes of Bangladesh. So if this was Bangladesh, I would have called it an upset. But with Afghanistan, I humbly beg to disagree because they beat England, and England didn't even legitimately win the last World Cup. You all agree on that, right, guys? And with Netherlands, look, they've beaten South Africa now twice in a space of 2 years in World Cups, like last year in the 2020 World Cup, and now in this World Cup. And of course, what do we say of South Africa? That was such a piss poor performance from them, right? I mean, how did the wickets tumble? So many wickets tumbling.
Yeah, De Kock was out very early.
That is something that you can say in a South Africa game and in bed. De Kock was out.
Lungi's down.
Sure, that too. Choke me, daddy.
Choke me, daddy.
Oh well, guess what? Australia's getting head to win. Hopefully, win their next game.
Hopefully they take the games deeper this time around.
That said, while you have been cheering for Afghanistan, they have just been beaten comprehensively by the Kiwis. So probably we can agree with Manan and say that the last game was actually an upset. That said,
because Afghanistan's second win in the World Cup or first win. I mean, you can't really call them a legit team for now.
Okay. So that brings me to an important question. Tomorrow we are playing Bangladesh, a team that we really don't like talking about. But is it a match that we should take lightly and maybe drop Bumrah, drop Virat, get in Sky, get in Shami? Do we have the luxury to afford that?
So I know we don't discuss Bangladesh, but it's finally, I guess it's time to discuss the Naagin in the room. I personally think we shouldn't be experimenting with the lineup. Maybe one player, maybe we could get Shami, poor guy, he needs a game. So I don't know what the Pune wicket's going to be like. But I don't think we should be messing around with the lineup just for experimental purposes, because I don't practically see a reason why Sky is going to be making the team in the later stages of the game for us to be giving him a practice game now. And same with anyone else in the squad, because I really feel like, depending on the nature of the wicket, we might go with like a spinner like Ashwin on one of the games, and I don't think he needs match practice per se. But outside of that, I feel like our 11 or 12 is rather really nicely set right now.
Vijay, I really think we should get Sky some match practice. He's a backup for Shreyas, whose fitness is as secure as Prasanna's dandiya skills.
Yeah, but look, let's not jinx anything. Let's hope Shreyas is in good health, and of course, Sky doesn't need practice, man. He can just come in and do his thing on a game, right? I do feel like we could toy around with the batting order so that people like Jadeja get a bit more batting time, especially against exactly. Our middle order needs testing, and I mean we did get tested against Australia, but sure.
I hope Rohit is not listening to this. He may recreate a 10-for-3 situation tomorrow.
Not against Bangladesh, I guess.
Yeah. Look, if anything,
2007 is never coming back now. We're not. Bangladesh have won once. That's about it. They can't win.
Yeah,
I'm actually wondering who are the bigger trolls? The Indian fans who heckled Rizwan, the Indian fan who years back called Inzamam Alu, or the Bangladeshi players who would do the Naagin dance on field?
It's a very tough
Don't care
question,
about Bangladesh again.
Look, man, players doing the Naagin dance is not harmful to anyone. It's just ghastly to watch. So that's like you can turn the TV off and you're done, right? So Likewise, but then when there's a fan actively heckling another player and you respect the player's talent, then that leaves a bad taste in the mouth. And of course, with Inzamam being called Alu, that's like 101 fat shaming, and I don't think we should be doing that.
It is.
Like, honestly, yeah.
I've gone through fat shaming all my life. I can tell you, Rinzman didn't like it.
Also, in Alu's defense, it is an extremely versatile vegetable that everybody loves to eat. So
we all love Inzi.
It's not the stinging insult that whoever heard it at Inzamam thinks it is.
Yeah. And talking about Inzamam,
talking about my personal love for Inzi, my Dream 11 team name is still called Boys Played Well.
but on that note, I think we've made enough fun of his English, and which now I feel was not something that we should have done.
Correct.
All our lives.
Can't agree more. In fact, what I feel is that it's the broadcaster's duty to send a person for presentation who can speak to the player in his language, because honestly, the player is the bigger guy. So
Absolutely.
even I've had fun at Inzamam's English expense, so I would like to extend an apology to him. But that does not mean that I'm going to apologize to Prasanna for mocking at his accent.
No, look, we're mocking at Prasanna's accent because it's fake. So we can agree on that. That's like us not acknowledging Bangladesh on this podcast. So it's all part of the running joke. It was a heartwarming moment to see Gurbaz accept the Man of the Match award and speak completely in Pashto, and Rashid translate the whole thing, which was fantastic to see. And I completely take your points on board about the broadcasters having somebody who can speak the language of the player there, and in their absence, just ask questions through somebody like Rashid, so that the players also understand and they're able to communicate better. Because imagine the wealth of information from these players that we would be losing simply because they don't communicate in English, right? And this is something that you could be like, for all you know, a player could be like an astute reader of the game in the future, like even after a Gurbaz retires, and we'll be losing that wealth of knowledge simply because he doesn't speak the language.
Yeah. And I think your point, Ritvik, on the broadcaster front, right? I think it is Ramiz Raja who has to be blamed. He could have easily talked to Inzi in Hindi, but I'm sure he wanted to troll Inzi as well and asked him questions in English, and then slyly smiling during the entire presentation.
Yeah, there are a few things which have been constant with all India-Pakistan World Cup games. One is India winning, the other is Ramiz Raja, either as a player or as a commentator.
Oh well, coming back to to that big upset, as you guys are calling it, with the Netherlands, what that's essentially done is it's sort of put Australia back into contention. So if Australia make the semis, it's going to be thanks to another Australian who captained the Dutch team to victory yesterday. The moment he opened his mouth, he sounded like a non-fake PK yesterday. So thick Australian accent for Scott Edwards, and love to see it. But what that means is that Australia could realistically make the semis if they, up their game from now, which I'm sure they will. Which is something I personally don't like to see, because Australia, once they make those end stages of a tournament, get into beast mode and they can be like pretty invincible then. So what do you think about this?
Yeah. Last few World Cups, they've not done that, like 19
and 2011, they lost in the quarterfinals. 15 they won, 19 they lost in the semis. So I don't think it's the same Australian team, but it's always exciting to see Australia compete the way they do. So I would really like them to.
I mean, Australia won the 2021 World Cup and everybody had literally written them off. Remember the T20 World Cup? Agreed, it was a 2020 World Cup, but it's something with the spirit of that team that they have this killer instinct suddenly in big tournaments. So I would write them off at my own risk. So
if you're going to win the World Cup, you need to beat Australia.
Exactly.
What's a World Cup without beating Australia in the knockout stages?
India has beaten Australia once, and I really don't want to see India playing Australia in the semis or in the finals. So let that job go to another.
Or New Zealand.
Yeah, I would actually be more scared of New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, they've got 4-on-4 now. They are table toppers right now. So coming back to the India-Bangladesh game, who do you think is going to shine? We got most of our predictions right in the India-Pakistan game. We said Bumrah, we said Rohit, they all fired. So predictions for who will shine in India. Manan, we'll go with you.
In India, I think, again, Bumrah, rooting for him. I want Kohli to now shine, and Shreyas. Guy needs a competitive game to prove himself. I don't think he still has earned his place in the 11 yet. So these are the three people I'll be rooting for.
Fantastic. Ritvik?
Gill and Kuldeep. Gill looked good in the beginning. 4 boundaries, cracking shots.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow he should get a big one. And Kuldeep. I don't think these guys will have an answer to Kuldeep's bowling.
Yeah. And then Gill was the only guy in the India-Pakistan game who did not have a beard, by the way. Fun fact.
That is an excellent observation. Nobody would have thought about that. I don't know why you're observing people's facial hair,
I
Manan,
think
but
there's a video of Ashish Nehra sitting with, I think, Gaurav Kapoor, where Nehra says that Gill got dengue because he's the only guy without a beard and he got bitten on his face by a mosquito. That's Nehra ji talking. Imagine.
oh my God.
and this guy coaches Shubman Gill in the IPL.
Poor guy probably can't grow a beard. Have you ever thought about that? He's probably too young for a beard to grow out.
Quite possible.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Future
I think
father-in-law
my
also can't.
yeah, right. Maybe it runs in the family.
Yeah. Okay.
My picks would be Kohli and of course Kuldeep for this game. Anybody from Bangladesh who you guys think would shine?
No, not really.
You rather end the
Let's just end it,
podcast?
Yeah. Let's just end it.
All right, see you guys. That's been another
Bye-bye.
episode of the Common Fan Podcast, and we'll see you after a couple of games. Take care.